team be caught? Does it feel like it's all over?
I think it does, doesn't it? If it wasn't already, then it certainly looks that way now. I think that 13-point gap would be too much for any team, really. And Arsenal right now certainly do not look like they can make that up. So yeah, I think Liverpool can probably start planning the parade, and it's probably a question of when, not if, at this point.
Yeah, it does. Just seeing the action there, another wonderful performance as well from Dominic Szoboszlai, man of the match performance, and you wanted to focus on him in particular, didn't you?
Yeah, I think it was another really impactful performance from him, obviously following up his goal and assist in the win against Man City with another goal, another important contribution. We talk so much about Mohamed Salah in this Liverpool attack, don't we? But he is now making a really important contribution in an offensive sense, and we see his influence in the game in these stats here. So, of course, with the goals and assists at the top there, he also had the most shots of Liverpool players in the game with 3. And then we see some of his off-the-ball work as well. So tackles, 5 tackles in the game. That was top among Liverpool players. He won possession 9 times. Again, that was top. And then we see these physical stats. Distance covered. Szoboszlai is always up there. He was there last night. 10.95 kilometres covered. 25 sprints as well. That, by the way, is the most he has made in any game this season. So we talk about needing to maintain their momentum and find that extra energy. And certainly Szoboszlai is providing that right now.
Yeah, remarkable really, the stats, aren't they? I mean, it was supposed to be a tricky run of fixtures as well. They did, of course, drop points against Everton and Aston Villa. They continue to go from strength to strength, though, don't they, Nick?
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? They just keep racking up points. I mean, even those games when they did drop points against Everton and Villa, I mean, it's not a terrible result to draw either of those games, is it, at those difficult away. And Napoli there with 17 wins. That's 5 more wins than Arsenal have. Arsenal only have 15 in second place. So Liverpool really dominant and really racking up the points impressively.
OK, 7 of the Liverpool starting lineup had started all 5 games in a fortnight. They've perhaps been a bit lucky with injuries, but they've been able to, rely really heavily on 2 of their key players this season, haven't they? Thankfully.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I think you need a bit of luck with injuries if you're going to win a Premier League title in most cases, and certainly Liverpool have had that. These 2 guys here have been absolutely instrumental. Fantastic performances all season long from them, and you can see just how much they have contributed in terms of playing time. David Raya and Diogo Dalot, the only players ahead of Van Dijk and Salah in terms of minutes played in all competitions by Premier League players this season. You can see Yuri Tielemans down there with the 5th most minutes. So these 2 undoubtedly absolutely key. And of course, Liverpool fans will be hoping their futures can be sorted out sooner rather than later.
We'll see. I mean, a title win, it is perhaps looking inevitable. How many points can Liverpool rack up now this season?
Well, they're on 67 with 10 games remaining. So if they were to win all of their remaining games, they would go up to 97, which is an incredible number. And there's a reminder in this graphic here, isn't there, of their 2018-19 season, that 97-point total. It wasn't quite enough in the title that year, which just shows you how good they were that year and how good Man City have been. But no, I think it's going to be difficult for them to win every game, of course, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if they end up in the 90s. The fact is, though, that's not going to be needed because of the cushion they have given themselves. So no, it'll be very interesting to see how many they can rack up, and I'm sure that'll be a big focus for them in the Premier League, even if they are looking at pretty comfortable at the top there.
Yeah, and you're wondering where they're going to be eyeing all these maximum points from. We're going to have a look at the remaining fixtures. Where could the title be won as well, and when? And of course, it depends on other results as well, and Arsenal, of course. But
it does, yeah. I mean, this is their what they have in store in the Premier League. So as you can see, a lot of home games here, so I think that will be something they have in mind. They'd love to probably clinch it at Anfield, I'm sure. So you look at these home games later in the season, you're looking at Tottenham, at Arsenal, of course. Final day of the season against Crystal Palace. I mean, this game against Arsenal was billed as a potential decider, wasn't it?
But it down to that day, couldn't it?
It could do. It could already be decided if they carry on at the same rate as they are now. So, yeah, a couple of interesting possibilities there, but a lot to look forward to for Liverpool fans for sure.
Yeah. There is. Goodness me. I tell you what they've got on their side as well. They've got this lovely gap between March the 8th. I know there's obviously cup competitions to come into this and the Champions League. But in terms of just taking a bit of a break from the Premier League and kind of resetting, heading back into such a huge game, of course, against Everton, and we know what happened on the reverse of that fixture as well. But things are looking good for them, aren't they?
They are looking very good. They are looking very good, and they have allowed themselves to put a bit more focus on the cup competitions, haven't they? They've got a whole week to prepare for PSG in the Champions League. They've obviously got the Carabao Cup final coming up. That's not far away at all. So, potentially a really exciting season.
What do we think their biggest focus is then?
Well, I think Arne Slot would probably tell you that they want to maintain focus on the Premier League, at least until it's mathematically assured. But those cup competitions are going to be key, aren't they? And they've given themselves a real chance to focus on them. They've taken the pressure off their Premier League campaign a little bit, so I'm sure they'll be thinking a lot about those two competitions.
The Wolves' defeat to Tom's team Fulham last night had the chance to move 8 points clear of the bottom three, but Ipswich unable to cut the gap tonight. So they're still without a win, actually, since the turn of the year. 8 games now, the only Premier League team still yet to register a win in 2025. Next for Ipswich, they've got the FA Cup at Forest on Monday, and then they go to Palace. Got a visit from Forest, and then Bournemouth and Wolves back-to-back. So some really big games coming up for Kieran McKenna and his Ipswich team in the league. That's down towards the bottom. Up at the top, Liverpool march on. If there was any doubt before this game tonight that Liverpool were going to win the league with an 11-point advantage, well, now that lead is extended even further to 13 points. With their win over Newcastle, it's all over. 2-0 it finished. And with Arsenal dropping more points at Forest with that 0-0 draw. They have got a game in hand on Liverpool, but still 13 points the gap, and Liverpool's goal difference 12 better as well. Then come Forest, Manchester City up into the top 4, Chelsea dropped down to 5th, but so many teams in the hunt for Champions League football this season. If 5th is going to be enough, which we think it will be, even down to Aston Villa in 10th, only 4 points behind Chelsea in 5th. And let's just confirm how the bottom half of the table looks. There are Ipswich in 18th. Leicester, of course, play tomorrow against West Ham, the final Premier League game of this busy midweek. 6 straight defeats without scoring a single goal. Can Van Nistelrooy find some answers tomorrow to see them go above Ipswich and move to within 2 points of Wolves in 17th? Southampton, after another defeat last night, 9 points. A long, long way from safety. Tim, we spoke to you before the game about the title race. Was it over? You just added that slight shred of doubt. Are you in any doubt now?
No, I'm in no doubt. I was in no doubt before, really, but I know how difficult it is to win a Premier League title. You know, it comes with ups and downs, but when you've got no one really putting pressure on you, I think it helps as well. Arsenal are not putting any pressure on Liverpool at the moment. They're not looking over their shoulder, just concentrating on their job. We talked about these last 3 games they would have, and everyone identified them as really tricky fixtures against Villa, City and Newcastle. That would be the opportunity for them to drop points. Yeah, they drew against Villa, but there was an emphatic performance against Manchester City, the champions, and tonight was a cruise against Newcastle. Top quality, you know, and once they scored their second goal, McAllister's second goal, it was all over. Szoboszlai got them off the mark in the first half with an outstanding performance and finish. You know, he breaks from midfield. We talked about him at the top of the show, how instrumental he is in this side, but they've got so many options, you know, make changes off the bench. Gakpo comes on and plays very, very well. And the little genius in Mo Salah, he just turns up when he wants, you know, and I mean that not just in game to game, but moment to moment. You know, he has a little sabbatical during the game, you know, has a little rest. And the likes defenders just have to stick with him, you know, because they know he just creates space. He knows when to stand still and knows when to move. His control is impeccable. He plays with his head up. He's a team player. He assists like he did tonight. They've got the whole package, and the manager's done a magnificent job, and we're looking at the champions elect.
24 Premier League games unbeaten. It's the 18th successive home game they've scored at least 2 goals in a game at Anfield. They're 13 points clear at the top of the Premier League. They've lost 1 in their last 32 league games. How do you stop this Liverpool side? Very
difficult. I mean, I was really impressed tonight of the way they got the ball back. You know, the ugly side of the game. We saw Man City when they was at their best a few years ago. You know, every time they lost the ball, they got it back in the blink of an eye, and that's what Liverpool are doing. You know, they suffocate you. You have to play with your head up. Before you get the ball, you have to know what you're going to do with it. If you take 2 touches, someone's all over you. Someone else is coming in behind. They win the ball back, and they break very, very quickly. They've got the whole package. How do you stop them? And there's no one. There's no one capable of stopping them at the moment. Next year, good luck to anyone who's going to try and stop them, because this year, it's done.
the Opta supercomputer would disagree slightly, a 98.7% chance of them winning the league. So that's a 1.3% chance they don't.
I am Opta, and that's wrong.
Hey?
I'm Opta, and that is wrong. I made a mistake.
Okay. And I mean, actually, just finish off. They've got PSG in the Champions League on Wednesday next week. They've got a weekend off, of course, so the decision to opt out of the FA Cup was looking a wise one.
Yeah, I'm sure they're not happy with it. They fielded that side against Plymouth. They felt that it was a good enough side to win, and it probably was. The trouble is for players like Harvey Elliott. I watched him and I was really impressed with what I saw. You know, the other boys are coming onto the pitch. He's made 5 subs there tonight and still no Harvey Elliott. And, you know, he's not happy. And he sat there and his face was so angry and annoyed. And I quite admire that. You know, that boy is not going to sit there and just not play. He will want to leave that football club. I know it's a brilliant club if he can fight his way into the team, but if he's not going to play on a regular basis, they've got players like that, and you need players like that who want to play and want to affect it. And at the moment, a top quality player like him is sitting there and he's getting no game time. If you don't play, listen, he'd be happy picking up a trophy and a medal, but at the end, he will want to contribute a lot more than what he's done. So the whole squad is healthy at the moment at Liverpool Football Club.
It's all looking pretty good.
We can do, and it was like this a week before, 2 weeks before, 3 months ago. It's the same. That's the only thing that we can control if we're going to have a real chance to do anything. Today we dropped 2 points, which is very painful. Again, and we have to step up. We have the Champions League. We have beautiful competition in front of us, and we need to be ready for Tuesday.
OK, back with Nick then, and something we have been discussing quite a lot here when we break down the stats, the struggles for Arsenal, you know, common themes in the last few weeks in front of goal, really. It's happening again, isn't it?
Yeah, not ideal at all for Arsenal, was it? It was another very blunt attacking performance. I think to some degree that's to be expected with their injuries, but the stats over these last 2 games do not look great for them. So here we have those stats. This is from the 0-0 draw with Nottingham Forest, of course, and the 1-0 loss to West Ham. So you can see they've had a lot of possession in the games. They've had 66.5% of the possession, but I think their opponents are probably not too disappointed about that because they know that they're just struggling to create anything, to take their chances. And we see that when we look at their shots, 33 shots, but only 3 of them on target. And those 33 shots have only been worth 2.21 expected goals. So that tells you that the chances they are creating aren't necessarily big ones. And of course, they haven't managed to score a single goal across those 2 games. It's the first time since May 2023 that they've failed to score in back-to-back Premier League games. Mikel Merino's working hard, isn't he, in that makeshift striker role, but of course it's not his natural position, and there's a clear lack of cutting edge in the team right now.
How do they compare to Liverpool's attack then, Nick?
Well, I think that's been the key difference in this title race, hasn't it, in terms of the attacks. I mean, defensively, Arsenal have been pretty good. They've actually conceded fewer goals than Liverpool, but as an attacking force, their numbers just do not compare to those of Liverpool. So we can see that if we look at these stats here. So in terms of goals, you see Arsenal are 5th with 51. Liverpool way out ahead of them, 66 goals scored. That's the most in the Premier League, and that is a theme, of course, with all these stats. You can see there, Liverpool top in all of those metrics, and Arsenal, by contrast, not where they want to be at all. So shots, Arsenal are 9th with 373. Liverpool way ahead of them there on 464. Shots on target, Arsenal again 9th. You see expected goals, that's way down from where Arsenal would like to be. They're 8th for expected goals. A huge difference there with Liverpool. And then we see these two rows at the bottom. Arsenal have failed to score in 5 games this season, whereas that's only happened to Liverpool once. And then you can see the times in which these teams have scored 2 or more goals. Arsenal have managed it 15 times, which is maybe not a bad total, but Liverpool there 25 times they've scored 2 or more. Of course, they did that again against Newcastle last night. So yeah, a huge difference in attack. Of course, it's partly informed by the injury situation Arsenal have had. Liverpool, by contrast, haven't had too many attacking injuries to deal with. But yeah, a big gulf between the 2 sides in an offensive sense.
And also have as well, Arsenal, the recent form of Arsenal captain Martin Odegaard. I mean, that's been a real concern. How much of a drop-off has there been?
Yeah, I think his form is a bit of a worry, isn't it? He's been getting some flack for his performances lately, and we can see the difference if we look at his sort of per 90-minute stats. Last season, compared to this season. So as you can see, he is creating fewer chances. He was close to 3 per 90 minutes last season. That's much closer to 2 now. His expected assists have dropped from 0.32 to 0.26. And I think it's really interesting as well that he's having a lot fewer shots. So, you know, we don't just consider Odegaard a creative player. He's also a goal threat. But this season, that just hasn't been the case to the same extent. 2.24 shots per 90 minutes last season, a big reduction this season. His shots on target are down as well. And then you see the key stat really at the bottom there, the goal involvements, the end product. It's down by nearly half, 0.52 per 90 minutes last season, just 0.29 per 90 minutes this season. I mean, I think he's struggled since coming back from an injury. He did have that big injury in the first half of the season on international duty. Maybe he's struggled to find his rhythm again, but certainly Arsenal do need more from him at the moment with so many players injured.
OK, they'll be hoping as well to have Bukayo Saka and Gabriel Martinelli back as soon as possible. And Mikel Arteta, well, he provided a bit of an update on their fitness last night.
See how they evolve in the next few weeks to make the right steps as well. And then after that, they've been out for a long time, so we're going to have to integrate them as well, probably gradually. So they're evolving well, but they're still a bit far. We have a meeting tomorrow to discuss where they are, especially Gabi, that has probably a chance before Bukayo to come in, but how soon that is, we'll have to see how it evolves probably in the next week or 10 days.
OK, so there we go, a week or 10 days. Arteta, I mean, he'll be certainly hoping they'll be back sooner rather than later, Nick. But what do Arsenal's next 6 fixtures look like then?
Yes, well, here's what they have in store. So obviously the key games for them now are these 2 Champions League games, aren't they? PSV in the last 16. They've got the away leg coming up next week on Tuesday. They've got a full week to prepare for that. And then they've got the home leg, the other side of this away game against Manchester United. Of course, they'll be keen to get Martinelli and Saka back as quickly as possible. But I think Arteta is going to be cautious, especially with Saka. He's been out since December. He won't want to rush him back. And maybe it's more realistic to expect him back for these 2 games here after the international break. Fulham at home and Everton away in April. So that's what we have coming up for Arsenal. And it'll be interesting to see when those injured players make their returns.
Yeah.
Well, they certainly did. Have you got some sympathy for Mikel Arteta in the fact that he clearly wanted another striker and wasn't given one?
Yeah, I think I have. He's not stupid. And I do make similarities and comparisons to Manchester City in the past, where he was Pep Guardiola. He went through periods of time without a centre-forward, even when he had one. In fact, with Aguero, when he was just coming towards the end of his career, he wasn't playing him an awful lot. And he was happy to wait, sit, suffer, and as soon as somebody comes available, i.e. Erling Haaland, you don't miss out. You pounce, you pay what it takes, and you get them. And I think Arsenal are in that situation now. I mean, who's out there? Yes, you can get a stopgap, maybe another body that Shay mentioned on loan or something. And Arsenal, I'm sure they scoured the market to try to do that. But they're in massive need of a centre-forward. And they have been for a long time, really. And I just think when one comes available, Arsenal are going to be right in there. They're keeping their powder dry. They've probably got an awful lot of money sat behind the scenes waiting for the right one. But strikers of Isak's quality, let's say, don't come available very often. When somebody really good does, they've got to be there to pounce.
Or is it as simple to say, without those 3 injuries, Martinelli, Saka and Havertz, that's 20 Premier League goals this season, out of the team, without talk of a new striker?
No, I think it's a bit of both, actually. You are going to miss the calibre of players that you mentioned, Steve, for sure, and them goals as well. But I even think there was games earlier part of the season that they were
all fit.
Yeah, when they were all fit, all playing, missed out, drawn games or dropping a couple of points or even the odd defeat as well. I just think that, as I said before, that there's not a plan B, or they've not got that out-and-out striker to them. The goals, I mean, I don't know, you play with some great strikers. Michael's a great striker himself. You just know he was going to score goals. You just knew that Haaland's going to score goals. You know that Isak's going to score goals. You know Mo Salah's going to get to score goals. I look at most of the Arsenal players and I don't see, even walking out of the tunnel as a player, you're thinking, well, Alan Shearer, whoever's at the front of he's going to get us some goals today. I don't have that feeling at Arsenal. Yeah, they can play some great stuff at times. You've got some very good individual players, but they don't have that out-and-out striker. And I think, they tried to get Watkins supposedly in January, but I think they should have had a striker in last summer. From the very start of the season, that's when they should have pounced. And it might not be the ideal striker, it might not be the perfect striker, but get a striker in, give you something different, give you an option B. He didn't have that, so you can't blame the board or you can't blame Arteta. He's probably got the final say. And if it wasn't your first choice, I think you should have went to the second choice. Get someone in through the door, because I think they're invaluable. They're the main part of the team. They get paid the most, don't they, Steve, the strikers? And I think
There's some considerable margin, I'm informed.
Yeah,
yes.
That's right, yeah. And if there's any money left, they give to the keeper at the end.
Those clean sheet bonuses won't be.
Oh, yeah.
Do you agree with that? Even with the three who are out, they still needed a striker?
Yeah, I think it depends on who it is. Just getting somebody for somebody's sake, I don't think anybody would condone. But if it was somebody that, OK, not your first choice, but was very good and it's your second or third choice, then yeah, I agree with that. But it just depends who was out there. It's impossible to say. We're speculating, really. But I do think that Arsenal are right. If it was just for the sake of it for anybody, then no, keep your powder.
Osman was available, I suppose, in the summer, wasn't he, when he went to Turkey? Yeah, he's gone to Turkey, and you think, well, could we not got him? Would he have changed things? And then you question, could Arteta manage a maverick player like them? Because in previous, with Aubameyang and stuff, and he had his issues with them, Ozil and stuff. He had issues, got them out the door, and he says that's why they're so good now, because he got the, inverted commas, bad eggs out of the dressing room. Was Osman too big of a character to handle, perhaps? I don't know. Does that rock the boat, or does it? I think it would have been a great addition to the football club.
Well, Haaland certainly can score goals, and no surprise that he was back amongst them, back in the team, and City back winning tonight.
Yeah, it's a big lift, I think, for the whole club, because City have been really struggling, haven't they? Just after the weekend, obviously a bad defeat to Liverpool, played really poorly as well. Liverpool were in control, and Haaland, great to see him back. I think he's great for the Premier League as well, and maybe could have got a second goal in the second half, got a goal disallowed. We thought in the studio that was a bit harsh, actually, for a handball, but he took his goal really well tonight.
He did.
And in terms of Manchester United, Ruben Amorim's finally got a win. Not when we expect him to, but when they're down to 10 men for over an hour.
Incredible. I mean, they gifted Ipswich an initial goal, and you think, here we go, Manchester United again, throwing it away. Get back into the game, then concede, then get a red card, and you think, wow, second half, trying to hang on with 10 men. They ended up winning with 10 men, which is quite incredible. You never know what you're going to get with Manchester United at the moment, but that's a welcome win for them.
Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for your company. It was always going to be a pivotal midweek fixture round, and tonight has proven that. More drop points for Arsenal, no chance for Liverpool, and it's not unlucky that number 13. That's how far clear Liverpool are at the top of the table. See you.
Liverpool march on, pretty relentless. Yet another dominant, indomitable, dynamic display. They appear to be just running away with this Premier League title race, Danny.
They are. I mean, it was classy, it was controlled, measured. Some great performances, especially midfield with Szoboszlai and McAllister. But I've picked out Diaz because I think he's gone under the radar a little bit with all the plaudits a lot of the players are getting. He's got a wonderful work ethic and attitude to the game, wherever he's asked to play. A lot of the time this season, he's been asked to play that centre-forward role. He was more out wide because Jota played tonight, and the first real impact he made was that beautiful pick-out of Szoboszlai to relax everyone and settle everyone, and then his confidence was up and he was beating people. I mean, Liverpool a good fullback. It's not an easy thing to do, but he was sharp. Loves running in behind without the ball, which we see not enough players do, in my opinion. That's why Liverpool are so good. We've got so many players willing to run in behind. Doesn't come to anything, this particular one. And this is something he does really well. It's close control, but it's travelling with the ball, getting Liverpool up the pitch on counters when there's space to break into. Makes the right choice for Jota there. And he just looked back to his best. For me, although he does a job centrally, I think he always looks more comfortable on the left. Yeah. Obviously, with Gakpo having such a great season, Slot's been trying to fit them both in. But that there, he epitomises everything good about this Liverpool team. The quality's there, obviously. But that work ethic that the manager's just been talking about, he sets the tone so many times, always does his defensive work, gets back in, nicks the ball off people. They don't see him coming on the shoulder. He's strong, yeah. He was a great replacement for Mane, maybe not quite up to the levels of Mane because he was such a wonderful talent, but he kind of seamlessly fitted into this Liverpool team. Second half, starting to enjoy himself with nice touches. Never worrying too much. There's that work ethic I'm talking about, getting back in, opening your midfielders, and really deserve the icing on the cake.
That's a pass.
That's a pass. But, do you know what? You don't get surprised with Trent anymore.
No, it's so good.
And then this is a pass as well. Salah's vision. And you think, here we go, he's going to round off his performance, just lunges at it a little bit fast instead of controlled, but would have been a beautiful goal and a wonderful way to finish a great performance for him.
Yeah, these two sides will meet again in the cup final, the League Cup final, won't they? No Isak tonight for Newcastle. They'll need him in the final to have a chance, won't they?
Yeah, they will, and they tried a little bit of a different approach tonight. They went with Isak up front, Gordon just off him. They tried to pack the midfield with four midfielders. Wilson. And they tried to pack the midfield with four and go against Liverpool's three. But what you've got to do when you go at Anfield is you've got to have an outlet. You've got to have players that are going to play wide and stretch the pitch, because Trent Alexander will wander up the field or wander inside. Tsimikas will go down that left-hand side. You've got to have an outlet. And we were just saying, weren't we, why not go 1v1 against Trent? Anthony Gordon's had a field day against him many times. Take him to the cleaners as much as you can, keep running at him, and then Tsimikas on that left-hand side as well.
I think it's difficult when you play a team a few weeks before a cup final and take a beat. I mean, Newcastle were OK tonight, but
they had the chances.
They had a couple of chances, but it always felt like Liverpool had the extra gear. And look, players are experienced these days, but Newcastle have only had the one final. Liverpool have been playing finals season in, season out. You just get the feeling that result tonight gives them control for the final. Sorry, Al.
I was just going to say. Oh dear. Following
Arsenal, it's understandable. Back-to-back games now where they haven't scored.
And there it is. It's less of a title race and more of a procession, isn't it?
It is. Well, you asked me at the weekend, didn't you, whether it was over? And I told you the answer then, so it's not going to change tonight.
It's more over.
Yeah. I think it's brilliant from Liverpool to keep that level of consistency. But just on that game, I think it's worth giving Forest some credit.
Yes.
You know, they're really difficult to beat at home. They're a good side and they're still in that Champions League fight.
Very much so.